All right, well, I think we are going to go ahead and kick off one of my favorite sessions of the year with our Student Perspective series today, talking about how to foster a culture of care in your classrooms with your students. And this is fantastic because we are hearing directly from these amazing, accomplished, intelligent learners that we have here at Park that we are so lucky to have featured here with us today. Our conversation today is going to be facilitated by Alyssa Acuna, who we are thrilled to have here. So without further ado, I want to welcome all of the faculty and instructors who are here with us. I want to welcome the students, and I'm going to pass the virtual mic or baton over to Alyssa so she can begin this what I know will be a insightful, meaningful conversation to help all of us improve our practice. So thank you, Alyssa.
Yes, thank you so much, Amber. And I just want to welcome everyone to our panel discussion. I'm really excited for you all to hear from our students today. We're going to really explore what a culture of care means to us as students. I'm also a master's degree student. I'm here at Park getting my degree in organizational communication and leadership. So I'm happy to share some of my experience as well. On top of that, my title is Associate Director of Student Engagement and Inclusion. So it's really important to me that our students' voices are heard and spread throughout the campus. And so with that, I would love our students to introduce themselves and start with their first name and last name, major, and their year at Park University. And I'm just going to start with Patience because you're the first one on my screen.
Thank you for the opportunity, Alyssa and Amber. And my name is Patience Dadzie. I'm a graduate assistant, and my major is innovation and quality management in my second year. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sehrish? You muted, hun. Sorry. Still muted.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sehrish, and this is my senior year at Park. I am a biology major with 2 minors in psychology and chemistry.
Thank you. And Waylon?
Hello, everyone. My name is Waylon Wright. I am a sophomore this year, and I'm also a nursing major. Also, I'm sorry if my connection is bad at any point. I got new Wi-Fi recently, and so if it's bad and you can't hear anything, just ask me to repeat, and I can do that. So
we've all been there. Thanks for the heads up.
And lastly, we have Bella. Oh, Bella, do you want to introduce yourself real quick and your major? Or can you hear me? Bella, can you hear us?
She typed in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your...
Okay. Are we having some difficulties on Bella's end? Okay. So we'll just go ahead and jump in, and then Bella can intervene when she's ready. So let's start kind of defining what a culture of care looks like for us. So Waylon, do you want to kick us off on what a culture of care looks like for you?
sure. I mean, I'd say just in the broad sense, culture of care. You want everyone to be supported. You want to feel like included in class, and that you truthfully like have a connection, I feel like, with your professors and your students, which sometimes can be really difficult, especially when you're an incoming freshman in the beginning. You're in these classes where you probably don't know anyone or very few people. But for me, I'd say more than anything, it's the connections you attempt to make. And an example that I kind of came up with was feeling valued and heard, which is always important. And just there's a lot of struggles the students go through, and I feel like a lot of times they won't reach out to professors anytime, even though we as professors can do anything and everything they can to try to get students to talk to them, but sometimes they just won't. And I know that because sometimes I'm like that too. So
Thank you. And Patience, do you have anything to share on this topic as well?
Yes, please. I feel like a culture of care or belonging is kind of like a classroom environment or any environment on campus where students feel safe, they are included and valued. And for instance, Park University would identify issues and gaps that prevent these students from fully engaging in their education and providing targeted solutions and resources to address them for them to feel comfortable. Because the student journey is full of unknown surprises, and having these good environment for us student will make it easier for us to achieve our goals.
Thank you. And let's hear from one more student before we go to the next question. Sehrish, do you have anything to share on that?
Yeah, I do agree with Patience and Waylon. I think a culture of care means creating an atmosphere where we can openly share our struggles and successes without the fear of judgment. It's about having that same sense of community where everyone feels connected. When faculty and staff show genuine concern for our well-being, it just encourages us as students to support one another too. So I think this kind of environment not only enhances our learning, but also fosters lasting friendships and networks that can help us throughout the college journey. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Alrighty. And so I really want to get a personal experience of what that feeling of care from an instructor looks like for you. And so I think Bella got her mic to work. So Bella, can we hear from you on this?
Yeah, I just want to introduce myself first. My name is Bella Brooks. I'm a sophomore and a biology major on the Parkville campus. And my answer to this question is kind of personal. This semester, when I missed my organic chemistry class, definitely a difficult class, I happened to see my professor later on in the day. And as soon as she saw me, she stopped. And even though she may have been a little bit irritated with me missing class, she took the time out of her day to make sure that I was okay and that everything was okay in my personal life. And so I was really touched by that. It made me feel awesome that she cared about me as a human. She cared about my mental and physical health. And she's really a great champion for making sure that students feel cared for. And that made me feel really nice. It made me feel very cared for.
Wonderful. Patience, Sehrish, or Waylon, do you guys have any personal experiences of when you really experienced care from an instructor?
Yes, I did. I really had an awesome fall one because I had two classes, one online and one in the classroom. So I did operations management in the classroom and then principles of quality management online. So I was just doing back to back with work and everything. And with the operations management, we had specific instructions in the McGraw Hill series, and the calculations were kind of like difficult. Some of them were they were very hard to rack your brains around. But our professor, Bubakar Villing, he was so amazing. He would have time for you to call him, take you through, for you to understand some of the. I could do most of them, but some were so hard. And he would take his time to take you step by step for you to understand the calculations, for you to do it on your own. And I passed all my calculations. And with principles of quality management, it was so amazing. I mean, Professor Portia Bonnet, she's always available. You could call her. If I didn't understand anything, I could talk to her even before class or after class, even on weekends. And there was one time that I forgot that the last of the finals were to be submitted on Friday because we are used to submitting finals on Sundays. And I have done the assignment, but it was just left with reviewing it because I always want to go through my work again before I send. And it was like missing. I was like, oh my gosh. So I reached out to her and she was like, Patience, no problem, just submit. And I did. And I ended the semester with my 2 A's. And I'm so excited. I mean, this is the kind of help we need. And I was so excited about it.
Thank you. Yeah, Sehrish, you want to share something?
Yep. So last semester, I was having a tough time with one of my classes and felt really discouraged. My professor noticed that I was not participating much, and reached out to me after class. She asked me if everything was okay and offered to meet me with one-on-one to go over the concepts I was struggling with. during our meeting, she not only helped me understand the material better, but also like encouraged me to believe in my abilities. That support just made a huge difference in my confidence and performance in class. It just reminded me that teachers truly care about our success, not just academically, but also as an individual. So that was just, I was like impressed.
That was a beautiful experience. Waylon, do you have one more to share?
Yeah, I do. I would say I made a very close connection with my freshman year chemistry teacher, Dr. Aga. She's super sweet, obviously. If any of you know her, she's great. But just in the beginning, that was one of my first freshman classes, kind of the introduction to the college experience. And since she had a very welcoming personality, and even though we were covering very hard topics, she encouraged everyone to make sure they asked questions and interacted. And throughout her entire class, I felt very connected with her and with the other students in the class because we spoke more in class. And I feel like a lot of times, I know I'm a science major, and sometimes in class, students just don't ask questions. That's just how it is in a lot of classes. But even now, after I'm not in her class, I feel like I usually see her once a week. And she probably every time, at the very least, we have a couple-minute conversation just about how everything's going, how our week has been, what we've been up to. And it's nice to have that connection with someone, just some nice little conversation every now and then, just to kind of, you don't have to think about all the struggles or class struggles or anything else like that. And I think as Park University as a whole, we have a better we we have a better culture of inclusion already, since we are a smaller university, I feel like, than others, because you got to think, you walk into a lecture hall with 300 students, you're not really going to have a connection with your professor. And I feel like now every professor I had is known me on a first name basis and tried to really make a connection. And I think that's really helped me feel at home at Park. It made me want to encourage more people to come here, and so on and so forth. So
Thank you. I feel that we're all hearing a lot about, just caring and being intentional with your students and letting them know that like it's okay, that there's going to be times where, you mess up, but also encouraging them to keep going and that you believe in them, I think just takes that extra care even further. And then also just making a genuine, authentic connection with that individual, I think creates that center of belonging, because you know that there's that one person you can go to who's always going to be there for you and understands everything that you're going through and will advocate and provide resources for you. So I really love that each of these students have someone that they can look to that will give them that. So thank you for those personal experiences. Um, what do you guys think about what can instructors maybe do more? Just if you maybe had some experience of instructors where you're like, that wasn't, I did not feel cared for in this class, or I was feeling a little disconnect. It could even be an experience of online, because I know that online you have less connection than you do to professors who are in person. So I want to hear your thoughts on how can instructors online or in person, what can they do to make students feel more cared for if they're not doing that already? So we'll start with Patience.
Thank you for the opportunity, Alyssa. So I feel like, yes, with online classes, it's a little challenging to connect to professors. So if professors would be more open and have clearer communication, because sometimes the syllables or whatever is explained in the syllabus, is not really understood. Some students may not readily understand all that is expected from him or her, like during the semester. So I think email addresses should be readily available, the right telephone numbers, so we could have the right channel to communicate with them. And I also recommend, although it's been done already in Park University, which I really am grateful, our academic coaches, they are doing super well. But I feel like more information must be given them also before we enroll in the next class for the semester. Because most of the times, they may not know the next class you may enroll in. They may not even have the CLOs unless they request for them. So if they know, they will teach you already what you are anticipating or be willing to learn, which would help you in your academic success. So you already have an idea what you are about to do in this semester, then you're all prepared. Then when you are asking questions from your instructors, you go straight to the point, as to what is needed and what you're supposed to do. So we have the right information for our project works, for our group assignments, for our personal assignments, and then to be successful.
Thank you. And I just
Thank
want to add
you.
on that because I am too a master's student, of course, worker first, but then employee or student second. And I do the program where it's sometimes it's in person, sometimes it's online, sometimes there's Zoom, but it's still online. And I think the most successful pure online class I've been in is currently in my quantitative research class where the professor will send videos every week. And he'll just, just a little snippet of, hey, I've experienced that students struggle on this piece of the project or this piece of what's to do. So I'm going to go dive a little bit deeper into it and even share an example, like kind of like I'm sharing my screen and then I'm reading through the discussion with you. I think that that's been very useful. So I still know, even though I'm not face to face, I'm still getting an extra resource to refer back to. And I think that if every online professor, adjunct professor were to implement that into their class, I think we would see a lot more student success as well as connection to the professor. I also like how he even had like his professor mission statement. And so I got to read a little bit more about who this professor is, what he's done in his career, what he cares about. And that made me feel like, okay, this person cares about my success and this is it. So those two items have been really great for online classes. And I think that that's something that we can easily implement across all online courses.
Sure.
I wanted to share that. Sehrish, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things instructors can do is to create a welcoming environment, whether it's online class or in-person class, where students can feel safe to express themselves. This could be through simple gestures like checking in with us regularly or inviting feedback on how the class is going. Additionally, I would say that I believe it's crucial for professors to share a bit about themselves, like their own challenges or interests, so we can see them as more than just teachers. Um, I feel like when we can relate to our professors on a personal level, it just fosters the trust and makes it easier to reach out for help when we need it. Thank you.
Thank you. I will have Waylon go next.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys, and definitely that making a personal connection helps a lot because even though, on the first day we might go over the syllabus and just the usual, I have two kids and I have a dog at home, things, whatever, like those type of things. Sure, those are important, but I mean, making a connection, a constant growth of connection over the course of the semester, and obviously that's a lot harder in online classes, which is a given. But in person, continuing to ensure there's growth of personal connections, I would say that's very important. And also just in general, from another point of view, is encouraging students to get involved, which is something we always talk about in general. I personally feel like there's an important balance, obviously, in anything between being overly involved and under involved. But being involved in general, I feel like helps students make more friends, and kind of the social like structure will help them like prevent burnout and things like that. So that's what I got so far.
Thank you, Waylon. Alrighty, Bella, what do you have for us?
Hi, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. I feel like I am going to build off of what many people have said in the past, similar to what Sehrish and Waylon said, particularly in person. I don't take a lot of online courses, but in person, I feel like a smile and wave goes a long way. Like I said, my organic chemistry professor, as soon as she saw me, she acknowledged me and made sure that I was okay. But I feel like this small acknowledgement can go a long way whenever you are interacting with students and seeing them on campus. And it makes students feel much better about reaching out in the future and just being approachable. When this doesn't happen, it can build resentment, and students will be less likely to reach out to you for any issues. And that just leads to unsuccess, less success all around for the student and for the professor, which is why I feel like it's important just to be approachable and build that personal connection, like many of my peers were saying.
Thank you. And kind of building off of this question, so this is kind of, what do instructors do? But do you have any advice? And so that's what, our instructors are here for. Any advice of what other ideas that you maybe have in your classes, like when you come to class, could it be a community builder? Could it be having, for example, my teacher, something that Laura had done was every night we would have a new person bring dinner to class. And which was so amazing was that not just that we would share the dinner together, but on top of that, we also got to share cultures. So we had a student from Kenya bring, traditional Kenyan food. And then we had someone from Chile bring, a dish of theirs. So not only were we sharing in the class, but we were sharing a meal with each other, and even like fostering up. Now we felt like a big family after 8 weeks of being together and eating dinner together. It was like all of these people in here, we're all going through the same experience. I've never had an experience like that in a class before. And so any advice that you've experienced in your classes that you think that would, instructors could implement that would really just foster really that culture of care. Anyone have anything to share on that?
I would say that I did or I have experienced some of these things you're talking about in my formal organizational behavior class. Professor Kevin Bilberry, he shared certain things with us, food. We did a whole lot of diversity in culture, so it was impressive. I really enjoyed that class, and my operations management class. I mean, Dr. Villain did the same thing. So he will bring us like chocolates. We bonded, and some of us will bring some, is it toffees or candies? And we had pizza times, drink times, and it was awesome. I was like, ooh, this professor is really great because it wasn't all about the food or diversity, but he was encouraging us to feel comfortable and, I mean, bold in our groups to come out excellently with whatever assignments we're supposed to do together and be participating in class so that we could also have that freeness to approach him of whatever we're supposed to learn and we don't understand. So I feel like more of these being incorporated, especially in our face-to-face classes, will go a long way. And I would also reiterate that yes, we have the help from um, Academic Success Center, like the online tutors, or yeah, I believe that it should be increased so that students would have more access to such people for help, especially if they don't understand anything in their academics. So that is what I have to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you. What about you? What about you, Bella? You have something? Any advice?
Yes. In the first year experience class that I was helping out with Professor Handley, actually, I believe she's in this Zoom, we did a how are you scale at the beginning of every class. And it was a lot of fun to be able to share your emotions for the day. There were 9 separate pictures you could choose from, and they were all sort of a different emotion. And it was just an easy way to get to know how people were doing that day so that you could move forward through the class and understand what was going on with that person that day. So that was a lot of fun, a great way to connect and create that care, because then you could go forward and talk about some of the feelings that they were having. You're like, hey, I noticed you put up a 3 for, you look kind of sleepy today. How are you doing? Are you doing okay in like all of your classes, all your personal life? And then you could get to know them a little bit more based off of what they answered your question with. So that was a great way to create that culture of care and get to know students a little bit more. I also think a great way that you can get to know your students is just asking questions and getting involved in their personal lives when applicable. One of my chemistry professors earlier, not my organic chemistry professor, but one of my earlier chemistry professors got to know a little bit more about what I wanted to do when I got older and some of my hobbies. And then in the future, outside of class, they sent me a flyer for a pre-medical conference that I was super interested in. And I just felt so cared for that they would remember me and send me those resources. So getting to know your students just in simple ways like that how are you scale at the beginning of every class, or getting to know them on a little bit of a deeper level can also help create that culture of care.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Waylon or Sehrish, do you want to go next?
Sure. I can give a little input. I don't have too much because the stuff I said earlier still applies here. I would say more than anything, just being welcoming, which is obviously important in general. And just trying to have a decent connection, even if you just, I think like Bella said, or someone said earlier, if you're walking by and you see them, just a little like quick conversation. How are you doing today? And just like the little things sometimes can make a day better. I feel like that goes not just in, college life, just in general, that sometimes helps everyone. I would also say maybe in online classes, this is something I've done quite a few online classes. But one thing that might be helpful is like a Zoom at the beginning of the year to like make a connection with your professors and the students. I know it's something I would go to, but I know a lot of students in general, just from my time during COVID, will get on there and leave their cameras off and leave their mics off and not say anything. And so there again, that's the question of if it would actually be useful and worth the time. But it's just an idea to throw out. I mean, something depends on the class and, all the things. So that's all I got.
Thank you. I think that's a great idea. I think even just like an initial, because I think like Waylon said, he would go to that. And so if one student or 5 students would go to something, I think it's worth the extra effort and still creating that culture of belonging. I know another thing a professor had done for me in an online class was create a project where you had to Zoom or meet up with one other person in your class. And so maybe it wasn't a direct connection to the professor, but you still felt connected to someone else in the classroom. So I think that's another way that you can implement some engagement into those online courses. So it's not just discussion question and reading all the time. I think it's important to add a little bit more in. So there's a little bit more incentive and motivation to want to be successful in that class. Sehrish, do you have any advice for our instructors?
Yes, I do. So recently, I'm taking social psychology, and it's a class where we have to be social. But right after summer break, everyone was so dead in class. But the teacher, she was like, okay, we're about to do an activity. No one was paying attention. But then she asked us questions. Oh, what's your favorite color? Those who have common favorite color make a group. And then she asked us similar questions like, what's your favorite dessert and all that stuff. But that bonding, that communication still like made us connected to each of our class fellows. And now we are like more open to talking to our professor and to our student fellows. And I also remember one of my teacher, she was like, okay, we have exams coming up. Don't you worry. I'm bringing donuts for you. So everyone was so motivated and they were just discussing, oh, we need to do this. We need to do this. Because when we have such communications in class, it just takes off the stressful environment from the class and makes it more friendly. So I feel like whenever teachers do that, it's just a great effort from them, like making the students more comfortable with each other. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I see Cheryl has a hand raised. So if you'd like to share something at this moment.
Certainly. Thank you so much. Is that just me? I see 3 people. But anyway,
Oh,
I kind of wanted to share about the group activities because I'm, in a position of a student right now and working on that certificate program. And I had an incident, well, it wasn't a great experience with a group activity that the professor had set up. And I found myself as an instructor on the other side, learning from the students as well, and we learned from each other. And maybe in that situation, I was an extension of the teacher because I had been a teacher so long, and it's hard to just turn it off and turn it on. And we learned from each other, especially when it came to technology and putting our PowerPoints together and doing the voiceover, things that I'm not too familiar with, but others may be because they're younger generation. And so he set that up, the professor did, so that we would engage with one another and work with one another. And that caused my learning experience and my learning curve to grow at the same time. Plus, it allowed me to share as well. And that experience of learning was twofold. It was not just one.
Thank you. I love that experience. Thank you for sharing. Okay, and I do see more hands. I apologize. Tangalia, am I saying that correctly? I apologize if I did not say that.
Hey, it's Tangela.
Angela.
Yes. And I was just thinking, like, in what Miss Cheryl just said, also with the students, you can just actually ask them, what their needs are, specific needs, maybe through a survey or questionnaire, because they can tell you their own personal needs, and then they can also tell you about tactics that instructors used in the past. So they can share that knowledge with you as well. And that can help us to determine, what we need to do, what we can try to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Just exactly how we're doing this, just sharing advice and all of that. I think, we're always growing and we're always learning. And especially when there's younger students who come in, they're going to learn differently than we're learning right now. And so that the constant asking, I think, helps, evolve and change the way you may have to approach teaching. So yeah, that was great. Thank you, Tangela. Alrighty, well, we're gonna get down and kind of to those final questions, and then of course, I think we're gonna have enough time that you guys in the audience can ask the students questions as well, things that are maybe on your mind. But finally, we just want to hear from the students as to the overall arching question is just why is a culture of care important to your student success, and why do you think that the idea of belonging is such a hot topic right now when we're talking about that in higher education, as well as in student persistence. Why do you think that the instructors are here right now wanting to know this information from you? So if you could share that, I will start with Waylon. You're ready.
Yeah, I would say a culture of care is really important. Just for the general fact is if you enjoy the professor, you're going to want to actually learn the information more because you know that they're going to be there to care for you. And sometimes that can be difficult, just in general, because you got to think you have multiple classes and there's at least 20 students probably in each class. And it can be really difficult sometimes to make connections with multiple people. But I would say just having that connection makes, at least in my sense, it makes me enjoy going to class more because I know that I'm going to enjoy it. Even if what we're learning sucks, I'm still going to enjoy making a connection with either the classmates or the teachers and things like that. It also, I feel like, helps keep students at Park more than anything because it keeps you enjoy what you're doing and you're going to want to show up. So.
Thank you. How about you, Bella?
Yeah, kind of to speak on what Waylon said, I feel like a culture of care has set our college apart, and it can continue to set our college apart if we continue to improve in this area. I know myself, when I was deciding on where I would go to college, I chose a college that had more of a small town, hometown feel, just because I knew that the close-knit environment was going to create this culture of care. And I feel like it has pulled through, and it has. And I think that this is very important to highlight for students and to recognize. I also feel like it could lead to greater outcomes for students, because when you know the professor and you feel like you have a relationship with them, it can lead to lower stress levels because you know that if you need help, you don't have to do it on your own. You don't have to suffer by yourself. You can reach out and ask questions, get to know more about the topic at hand. And yeah, students will just generally feel more comfortable to reach out and talk to you about things they're concerned with.
Thank you. Patience, do you have anything to share on that?
Yes, I side with what Bella just said and adding a little to it. We need we need a culture of care because it promotes mental well-being. Because I wanted to share the same thing, kind of like every student wants to have a good relationship with a professor. Because for myself, I've always prayed, God, let me have a good professor that I could talk to. We could have open communications because I love to ask questions a lot. I love to create good relationship. So I could come to you when I don't understand anything. But if there is no friendship, you are even confused or you are scared to even approach the person. So stress becomes increased and you don't know what to do. So we need this for improved success and understanding in our academic journey so that when somebody asks, where did you have your graduate studies? Oh, I'm proud to say, yes, I'm a product of Park University and everything was successful because I went through it myself. Thank you.
Thank you. That was great. Alrighty, Sehrish, what do you have to share?
I feel like a strong culture of care can lead to better academic performance, lower dropout rates, and a more vibrant campus community, which we all want to thrive. And feeling cared for is a huge part of that.
Thank you. Alrighty, so lastly, what resources or services at Park really signal a culture of care to you? And so I really want us to point out things are already in place that Park has done to create that culture of care. And then, of course, we would love to hear on that flip side is what are additional services that you think would enhance this culture of care? And I'm going to start with Isabella.
Hi, I really appreciate the counseling services that we have on campus. I know that that was an awesome thing to hear that we had whenever I was on a campus for my very first time here. And I really appreciate the mental health workshops that are also offered. The library and the counseling services do a great job of highlighting these. They show that Park values are well-being. I do think that expanding our peer support groups or mentorship programs could really enhance the community.
Thank you. Patience, do you have any specific resources that you really enjoy or think that there could be some additional resources?
Yes, I enjoy the library services too, and especially being part of first year experience makes it more um, interesting because I'm learning so much from the pals, which Beller and Waylon are part. So we have great connection. We learn a lot, and I also love the activities that goes on with student life and also the international office, especially with Park. I mean, international festival coming up. I'm part of those things, and it makes me feel so much loved and cared for and connected. I mean, being part of the school. So I also do recommend that more of stress management workshops must be organized because students go through a lot of things. There are a lot of things that they wouldn't tell the instructor or they wouldn't tell anybody. But if they see more of these programs, I feel they would be willing to join because everybody wants to kill stress. Everybody don't want to be stressed. So more of these would help us to be more successful. Yeah. Thank you.
I agree. How about you, Sherish?
I think the tutoring services at Park are a great resource that signals a culture of care. They help students who may be struggling with coursework feel supported. Additionally, I love to see more workshops focus on building the life skills like financial literacy or time management, as these resources would show that the university is invested in our overall well-being and focus both academically and personally. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And finally, we have Waylon.
Yeah, I agree. Everyone has made some really good points here, and I don't want to try to repeat too much. I would say, like as I've said earlier, um, the park has a lot of clubs and other things like that, and the events are really great for students to kind of get out and get out of their shell. And any way we can encourage more students to get out and do things is always good. I would also say that helps them, make them feel like they belong. Another thing is with the amount of clubs and other things, the leadership positions. I feel like that encourages students to not only themselves become more involved, but in turn encourage others to get more involved. And then when they're more involved, they tend to, at least in my mind, you're going to care a lot more and want to see others feel the same way you do and really enjoy being at park. Sometimes this is one that's a little more difficult in higher education as a whole, that is harder to fix. I would say focusing on learning and understanding is a key point in classes in general, but sometimes students get so overwhelmed by the grade factor of whatever they're getting tested on. And in explaining to them that one bad test grade or one C on a test, it's not the end of the world. And, I feel like a lot of times, in high school, things like that, as students grow mentally, they might not show it affects them as much, but it might have a very, like lasting mental effect of like, oh, like I got a C or I got a D on this assignment. I've never like done that before. And so that is also like, I don't remember who said it, but with stress and stress management, I feel like that's one thing. And just even little like meetings or things like that, it will help reduce stress and anxiety, and in turn make students enjoy park a lot more, which I think is the goal and what everyone wants to see here. So.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for sharing your insights and experiences. It's clear that a culture of care is crucial for success for our students. And I really hope that we all work together to really foster this environment at Park University. And we really encouraged everyone to like share their thoughts and experiences moving forward. And I'd love to give a little clap for our panelists. So thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
then I know we have a little bit more time, so if anyone had any questions for any of our students on the panel, please feel free to share. Oh yes, we have some hands raised. I'm sorry, I had to flip through everything. Let's go with Leslie first, and then we can go to Olivia. So Leslie, would you like to share?
Yes, hi, thank you. I am a professor in social work. I'm the director of the social work program, and I'm interested to know, one of you mentioned stress management workshops. Can you give me a little more detail about what that might look like for you?
Yeah, thank you so much, Leslie. So, many a times you would enroll in a class. So, going back to what I said, sometimes your academic coaches don't even know the course you're going to enroll the next semester. But if they are given a prior notice or given some form of information, when you go there, they're going to tell you, oh, patience, for next semester, you are going to do that and that. So I, the student, will make some time to make a research about that particular course for me to be prepared for it. But I didn't even know that I was going to do two courses last semester. And I was doing operations management and principles of quality management. So now I needed to prepare my brain, stuck myself to know that, hey, you're going to do two courses as to the normal one that I traditionally knew. And that was a lot because it was a lot of work with the operations management, a lot of work. I haven't seen so much classwork, like assignments in my courses in Park. But even though she told me late, because she also didn't know, I had to psych myself, do some research and be prepared in my mind for it because I could have been so stressed. I nearly was, but my professors were awesome. So they helped me wherever I found difficulties. They quickly came in because I called them and they helped me with the process for me to understand. So sometimes a student is lost. They don't even have an idea of what they're going to learn. And then you're just told, you're enrolling in this courses, or you're going to do two courses, you're going to do three courses. And they just say, okay, I'll do it. But they are really not prepared emotionally or psychologically for it. And just like Waylon also shared, you may not do too well because you may not like the style of the instructor, whether it's an online or blended or physical. And some are scared to even approach to call or email a professor and saying, hey, Alyssa, I really didn't understand this thing. Can we catch up? They're even scared to even do that in the first place. They don't even know there's a tutor at the academic center. No matter how much information is there, they don't want to go anywhere. And then they'll be stuck in there with a grade C or D or even a B, which they are not happy about. So it creates a lot of personal challenges for them. And then they'd be like, okay, I'm not even going to try anymore. I won't put in so much effort anymore. Whatever they give me, I go by it. But it shouldn't be so, because Park University wants you to excel and be successful. So I feel like when we have somebody to talk to, even if it's a 1 or 2 group that we have these workshops with, students are able to pour out whatever they are feeling at every point in time. They have somebody to run to discuss what they feel. And it's an open communication. You are not scared to be penalized or say that, hey, you shouldn't say this, or you shouldn't, not reporting anybody, but just saying how you feel and then the help you need so that you are helped to, continue with your success journey. So this is some of the things that accrue to the stress that we go through. And yeah, I think if the school comes in, everything's going to be fine.
Thank you, Patience. I appreciate your
you.
answer.
Thank you.
Yes, and I think there's an added layer as well as culture. You know, not everyone went to their undergrad or to high school in the same country. And so when they come here, even like APA or MLA is new, especially like the where do I indent? Where is my grammar? So you're gonna see those. You're gonna see that because it maybe wasn't taught. Western college, university preparation was not taught, you know, in the middle of this country. And so I think it's also those, and you know, but they're coming here, they want to get this degree, but they might not have the same level as some others. And so I think it's just important to like understand that. And so I really love how my professor will make a template and like, this is exactly what we want this to look like. And that's not cheating, it's just giving them a foundation to begin with, and then making sure that, you know, they have the foundation for what that looks like. I didn't even know it. I went to JCCC first and they taught MLA the whole time. And then when I got to my bachelor's, they're like, oh, you're APA. So I don't really understand why they teach us MLA in the first place if we're just going to end up writing an APA. So it's stuff like that where it's just learning curves. And so, yes, thank you for sharing that. And I know I saw Olivia had her hand up as well. Did you have a question?
Sorry, I was just clapping. Thank you all for sharing.
Oh, you were clapping. Thank you. Okay, now we just have a few moments left. Does anyone else have any questions for our panel? Anything? Well, I will, oh yes,
Sorry,
yes, Monica.
I'll ask one quick, or Monica, please go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I was just going to ask kind of a general question about when you feel like your instructors themselves aren't approachable for the myriad of reasons that you've already described. What are other motivations that get you to use various services? So say, you know, I'm a sociology professor. So say you hate your sociology class, you hate your sociology professor, but you want to do well in that class. What are some factors that influence whether or not you'll go to tutoring in that subject? Not to focus on the negative, but when you can't look to your instructor because they aren't offering what they need, what gets you what you need?
Okay, I'll kind of answer that. So during the spring 2 of last year, no, okay, this year, spring 2, I really did a difficult course. I don't want to mention the course or the professor's name, but in my group, I was kind of like communicating with the professor first, but I wanted to give my team members a chance. You know, I've always been a project leader in our project work, but I realized that these people didn't want to push so much. So I was like, patience, I'm going to sit back. This time we are going to elect a new project manager so you learn how to do it, because I don't believe in you doing it all alone. You have to impact for all your team members to be like you or even more like you. So when this person engaged the professor, the way she used to communicate to me changed. So I felt a little uncomfortable. And I felt like, is she approachable anymore? Can I even talk to her? Because we just started in Canvas. And there was one time that I didn't understand some part of my assignment and I wasn't feeling too fine. So I gave a wrong answer. So she marked me 0. And I didn't understand. I was like, I've never had a 0. I cannot have a 0. So I called her because she had her telephone number displayed. Then I realized she's the most sweetest. She's very nice. So upon talking to her on the phone, then I got to know who she really was. And she was like, Patience, I didn't understand what you put there, but could you elaborate it more or could you redo it? Because I had no idea I could redo the assignment. So I told her how I was feeling. I've not been well for the past week, so I wasn't really following. And she was like, okay, I've given you some ample time. Just redo the assignment and do the right thing and submit it. And I did it because there were 2 different assignments. That was a lot. I did it. And this time I was focusing because I was well. And I had all my marks 50-50. I was like, oh, I'm so glad. And so, it builds from there. Sometimes communication in a text message or email, they sound different from you talking to the person face to face or even on the phone. So I believe that as students should also sometimes make the extra effort. It is not all that it seems to be sometimes. We may feel some instructors are not approachable. Call her, call him, talk to them on the phone, and you would realize that they are sweet people. They don't even have no idea what you're going through until you talk to them. But on the email or text, the input may sound different and you might judge wrongly and you would be in the loop alone because I don't feel an instructor wants you to fail in their class for no reason. She also wants all her class to pass so that she or he is deemed an excellent instructor. So it's kind of like 50-50. We should meet them halfway, they meet us halfway, and then everything is successful. That is from my personal experience. Thank you.
Yeah,
I do have
I'd
a
also like to
point.
answer. Oh, I'm sorry, Waylon, you can go.
You go ahead, Bella. Okay,
Okay,
I'll be
I'll go
quick
ahead.
with it.
I think we're lagging.
I'm just gonna go quick. We are, but just encouraging your students that there's other professors and they don't even have to be teaching the same like classes. You can go to a chemistry professor and ask for help in an anatomy class and they'll say, hey, why don't you go talk to this teacher? And that can sometimes help just getting a different point of view. So I'm gonna hand it over to Bella. Sorry.
Great, just shortly as well. I think making those connections between students as best you can. I know before I reach out to my professor, I typically reach out to my classmates and ask if they have any questions. And most of the time, the professor is able to build that community between students using group activities or partner activities that you can do in class, or just increasing the communication between students. Getting students to like talk to each other, communicate, like, hey, tell your partner what the answer to this question is, or something like that. Making those connections between students has really helped me in the past, just because before I reach out to professors, I reach out to my peers in the class. So building that connection I feel is very important. And if not, it's always, you're always able to be that initiator in the conversation where you're like, hey, I noticed you maybe weren't doing as well as you have been doing in the past. How can I help you? And taking that first step can be a huge help.
Can I ask a quick follow-up, Alyssa? Am I out of bounds here?
Of course.
I know, one thing as a university that we often think about is how to better connect students to each other. And there are a million different like software products that we're always approach to say like, oh, download this new app and that's a way to connect students. They'll create these online groups. And I was just curious your all's perspective on, do you feel like you have the tools already in place to connect with each other, or do you wish that there were other mechanisms that you could, especially in an online class, say, or something like that, connect with other peers?
I feel like that when you're a freshman, you don't know about all those resources, but as you come along, the past all the years, you get to know more about different apps, different stuff, different communication ways. Like me personally, when I came here at Park, it was like during COVID. So I had no clue how everything was going. I was trying to communicate with my instructors, but at the same time, students do want other students' opinion too. So it was like, yeah, Park University is great at giving out resources, but it's just we don't get those resources as quickly as we want them. So maybe working on those would be really efficient for students from whether they're freshmen or a senior.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like interpersonal connection in class is the greatest way to build connection between students. I'm not sure if an app was offered or if a software program was offered, if I would use that, just because I feel like reaching out to people personally is most important for me. That's just who I am. And I don't really have much experience with online courses, but I do think the Canvas messaging platform works pretty well. I've used that a few times. But I don't think I would use a messaging or software app to message another student just because we already have Canvas, and I could also typically have the students' contact information if we build that interpersonal relationship in class.
I would also add that yes, we have the Canvas that we could communicate, but Canvas do not have the student's number or student's email address. So if the email address could be added to it, because I am the reaching out type. I reached out to all my 5 members for my project work this semester. So I had to email them first in Canvas and ask for each one of them to share their email address and their telephone number. And yes, it worked, but sometimes someone wouldn't mind you. So if Canvas could had an add-on, so we normally have all students in the class who's been enrolled. I mean, email address should be automatically added, if not even a telephone number, so that when we are reaching out for our project work, it's so much easier to just go on ahead and email the person, but not emailing first in Canvas. And now you would have to ask for email addresses or telephone numbers to reach out. That is all I have to say. But Park is doing great. We have a lot of resources. We have our first year experience. We're doing so much work with our pals and our instructors to give all information freshmen could have, whether they're a transfer student or they are sophomore from another place or they're in their first year. We're doing everything for them to be comfortable and know every resources on campus for them to be successful. So that is all I have to share. Thank you.
Something that our professor did is that we just created like a group chat, like a class group chat. And so then if we had any questions, and it was really helpful because maybe a student had missed class one day and they're like, hey, could you send over some notes or what the assignment was because I didn't get it, or anything that you guys talked about. So even creating like a group chat, because everyone, or group me, or using WhatsApp. We have a lot of students who use WhatsApp here on campus, and it's free. And so maybe even creating like a class group chat for the year, for the semester, just so everyone already has each other's numbers. And then, you know, we all have like a community where we know we can get the information that we need, is a really easy way and free way. So, you know, we don't have to spend any resources. Alrighty, well, I'm going to pass this virtual mic back to our leader, Amber. And again, just thank you so much. And this was really great.
I would have to agree. This was really great.
Yeah.
As indicated by all of the wonderful comments that you're seeing in the chat. I know some folks are having to leave to go to class or other obligations and meetings, but the sentiment is unanimous. This was hugely appreciated, insightful, incredibly helpful for us as instructors, as faculty, as academic leaders, of how to I think this was just so much learning for us. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your insights, your ideas, your recommendations. Like, this is invaluable to us. I was taking notes already on things that I want to go back and integrate or change in my classes, of other practices that you mentioned that other instructors are using. So I think this was just such a rich time of wonderful ideas and insights. Thank you all so much. Alyssa, as always, you're amazing. So thank you so much for moderating this session for us as well. To all of you, all of the students, we appreciate you more than you know. So thank you.
Thank you.
For those who joined, thank you for coming. We will have a recording of this available if you'd like to pass it on to anyone who wasn't able to join today. We'll have that available on our website as well. Hope everyone has a wonderful, happy hump day. It's middle of the week. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we will hopefully see you at our next Lunch and Learn or our next Student Perspectives panel. Thank you all so much. Take care.
Bye.